Hello, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the .com magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. I have an amazing show today. You know, I've been waiting for this show for a number of weeks. When I get an entrepreneur on the show like Mr. Subir Singh, who is the co-founder and CEO of Mico Spirits, I get very excited because he's got such a great entrepreneurial journey. He's been able to build this incredible business called Mico Spirits. You've probably heard about it. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's online talking about it. He calls it a hardly civilized tequila, which I really love. It's small batch. It's unmatched in its excellence. And what caught our attention is very, very rarely do you see somebody build something where everybody's just loving it. Everybody's raving about the spirits. Everybody's talking about it. You can't go online without hearing about it. The packaging is beautiful. Let's get into it. Subir, welcome so much to the .com magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
This is super cool what you've done with Mico Spirits. I mean, everybody's talking about it online. I want to get into it. I want to get into the packaging, how you actually produce this incredible tequila. But to start with, Subir, let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet and tell us about Mico Spirits.
Thank you. Yeah, let me just dive right into it. Mico Spirits, and more important, Mico Tequila, which is the brand under Mico Spirits, was launched in 2019 as a craft tequila within the ultra premium segment. The idea was to really produce something that was authentic. My partners and I have been producing tequila collectively since 1937. And our founder, who happens to be my father, AJ, was a former executive at Patron for many years. And he was truly responsible for building their hacienda, bringing production in the house. And that's how Mico came to fruition. The brand's got a lot of vibrancy to it. Mico actually translates to monkey in Spanish in the region of Jalisco. And at the end of the day, we really want to have fun with it. You know, produce a really authentic tequila. Karina Rojas, our master distiller, she's one of a handful of female master distillers in Jalisco. And just to really produce something that was really vibrant and really broke through our millennial consumer aged 26 to 38. So we got a line of ultra premium tequilas, a Blanco, a Reposado, and Añejo, and it's soon to launch Extra Añejo.
I love it, Subir. I mean, it's so remarkable. One of the things that caught our attention, which we thought was just super amazing and super cool, is that your master distiller is a woman.
Correct.
And there's not many, master distillers down in Mexico that are women. And I would imagine that's one of the reasons why perhaps your taste is so amazing, because maybe you just have this different kind of a taste palette from your master distiller that's able to sort of transfer over into this taste that you've become known for already with your tequila.
Sure, you're absolutely right. Karina does a fantastic job. She's got over 17 years working with the Nuñez family, and it's really nice to see her at the helm of this brand. She's truly responsible for our Blanco, which is reflected the Highlands, very floral on the nose, has grape bouquet and very agave forward. We use traditional methods of distillation and production, and Karina just does a fantastic job working with the local team there, along with my father, which is kind of interesting because you have a gentleman who arguably ran one of today's largest ultra premium spirits company in the world, coming together with a family that's produced tequila since 1937, and Karina kind of running the show there. So I know the term craft and small batch is thrown around somewhat loosely these days, but it's truly what it is. And we are so proud to have her. And to your point, her palate, her senses, her nose, and what she really understands about tequila is truly magnificent. And we're really lucky to have her.
I love it, Subir. And of course, your dad is known worldwide as a leading expert in this field, and you're building this amazing and remarkable company. Each bottle that you produce, I know you really have a passion behind it. And what you say is that it's an expression of really your meticulous dedication to the craft. So when you think about what you're doing at the company, what gets you up in the morning? Like, is it because you know that you're producing this just beautiful bottle of spirits that people are going to love, and they're going to toast at their weddings, and they're going to have at their parties, and they're going to have at very meaningful events? What gets you going in the morning, Subir?
No, it's great. And it's so exciting to work for this company and represent this brand. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but it takes about 7.5 to 8 years for our agave to mature. So from start to finish, you're talking about almost 8.5 to 9 years before it hits the retail shelf. And that's really what gets me excited in terms of the production process and really the team behind it. You know, when I look at Mico, sometimes me and my father mess around and I say, hey, listen, if you don't wake up every morning with a smile on your face, you probably don't belong within this company, this brand. And jokingly, he's very so ambitious about it, and he's excited every day. But that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is being able to go out there and talk about tequila, right, in a way where we can really showcase what goes on in Mexico and how well they produce a great product compared to Scotch, compared to champagne, compared to a lot of high-end wines, and how tequila kind of plays in that platform. And another aspect of really dealing with consumers every day and interacting with distributors and people, and look at the smile on their face, because that's one thing I love about tequila. When you ask somebody about tequila, do you want a shot of tequila? Do you want something with tequila? It's always like this bright, vibrant smile. And, it's just an uplifting spirit, and that's really why I love this company and this brand.
I love it. It makes all the sense in the world. Now, something that's very special about what you do at the company, and this is one of the reasons why people rave about this taste. It's bold, but it's smooth. I mean, it's very complex, but yet very easy to enjoy, is you use a very special barrel, some type of whiskey barrel, maybe an American oak whiskey barrel I've read for a certain type of your tequila. Let's get into that, because that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's very interesting too. And, so reposado, which translates to rested, needs to be aged a minimum of 3 months, and añejo, which translates to años, or 1 year, needs to be aged a minimum of 12 months. What we do is we take a really unique approach to aging our tequilas. We source 2 different barrels from 2 different distilleries in the United States. So we like American oak, and traditionally that's how tequila's aged. What gets really unique and really interesting about Mico Tequila and makes it sets it aside from the other tequilas out there, and to your point, creates kind of that interesting, complex taste profile, is that we finish up in Cabernet barrels from 2 wineries in Northern California. One's Silver Oak in Napa Valley, and the other is Jordan in Alexander Valley. And it honestly started off an experiment. We were sitting there, and 3 or 4 of us in Jalisco, and we were talking about aging and barrels and how to create something unique and cool. And we reached out to some contacts in Napa Valley, brought the barrels down. Karina and AJ kind of played around with it. And I said, you know what, this is actually damn good. And, we could have released it as a limited edition in that, but, it's part of our everyday line. It's kind of the story behind Mico, and it'll evolve. We'll source barrels from different regions of Europe later and things like that, and really take this to the next level. I
love it. Subir, let's talk about the Blanco, because, a lot of times when we think about tequila, the first thing we think about is the Blanco. And, your Blanco, it's crafted in small batches. There's only 3 essential ingredients. And of course, I love the fact that, the key ingredient is time. So let's talk about that a little bit, because that's really awesome what you've been able to do with the Blanco.
Absolutely. I mean, the base of any good tequila is Blanco. You got to start at a really great base. And because we're using traditional methods that have been passed down from generation to generation, that's where we get a really great Blanco. And much like the wine regions, our Blanco is really reflective of the Highlands, Los Altos. So very floral, great bouquet, and really approachable. So you're able to sip it, you're able to mix it with fresh ingredients and citruses and juices. It doesn't overpower, it kind of shines through. And I always say this, if you want to take a shot, take a shot. It's how you prefer to enjoy tequila. And if you really travel down to Mexico, Blanco is really what truly is what tequila connoisseurs love. And it's extremely important that you have a Blanco that is reflective of what you want to do in your production, right? So a lot of people do produce tequilas that are from the lowlands and are more grassy, but we really feel like Mico really showcases the Highlands well. And really, for people who don't like tequila, who want to get into tequila, can try Mico Blanco and really enjoy it and understand it.
I love it. It's so interesting, and it's so fascinating, and it's so involved, and it's so complex, but yet at the other end of it, when we get it in the bottle, it's so smooth and so amazing and so simple just to pour a little bit of it. When we think about agave, it all starts in the fields, and I know that your master distiller, hand selects, the cream of the crop for your product. So let's talk about that, because I found that very interesting.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this earlier. It takes about 7.5 years for agave to grow, and it's based a beautiful a piña is what they call it. And you can harvest agave earlier. You can wait like we do to make sure it's absolutely mature. It's got the right amount of sugar levels, and you're able to produce a really good high quality tequila. And Korean and AJ do a really good job of working with local farmers, making sure they're supportive, making sure it's a fair transaction, and they're they're our partners in the long term, right? I mean, they were the most important aspect, arguably, in this whole process. And so we make sure that they're taken care of. And honestly, we over the last 5 years, I'm sure you heard of this, agave prices skyrocketed, almost tripled. And there's a shortage of tequila out there. So what's really nice about us is that because we have those relationships, and Karina knows how to select, really high quality agave, we're still able to produce a really great quality tequila, given everything that's taking shape right now.
I love it. It's great. Now, when we think about production, Subir, you think about, big factories sometimes and big ovens and big everything. But in your particular case, which I love about, is that you're still using like brick ovens that are, in a town, and people are paying attention to it and they love working there. And it's a very meticulous sort of a process you use. Is that one of the secrets to the success?
Absolutely. And it is. And to your point, we take those time-honored methods and it showcases in every step of the process. Cooking in brick ovens for 48 hours. There's other processes you can use that take 8 hours. But that really allows agave to break down those sugars so we can convert it over to alcohol. Our fermentation process is about 4 to 5 days. And our distillation process is taking place in 5,000 liter alembic pot stills. I mean, truly handcrafted all the way through. And it really yields a really delicate, really nice balanced tequila that you can enjoy and eat. Our distillery is probably about 35,000 square feet. You can walk through in about 10, maybe 5 to 10 minutes if you wanted to, right? And it's just beautiful to see this whole process take shape in such a small facility, yet taking almost 7 to 8 to 9 days to produce and craft.
I love it, Subir. Now, I have a funny question, but I've been thinking about it here leading up to the interview.
Yeah.
I know you get to go down to Mexico, and you're very much involved. You're a very hands-on type of an owner. When you go down there and you start tasting the various spirits and tequilas and things like that, how do you taste it without sort of starting to get to your head a little bit as you're going through the tasting process?
No, it's actually a great question. It happens a lot, like after you're sitting there, you're trying to taste, you're making sure that each batch is consistent. It has that great quality. And after a few, 2 or 3 of them, your palate's almost done, so you kind of take a break and you go back to it. But, what we do, honestly, is it sounds a little weird, is we taste it in the morning because your palate's fresh. It's not adulterated with coffee and other things like that and foods. And you really get to understand what's in the tequila. And that leads to a really nice lunch.
I love it. Subir. What's the key? Where are we going from here? I mean, everybody's talking about it. There's only so much I think you can probably produce in its current state because it's small batch tequila. It's unmatched in its excellence. What's the plan for world domination, if you will? Or is it more of a United States domination, or are you going worldwide with it?
So that's a great question. Actually, we're taking a kind of a unique approach to this because it's such a small batch production. We're looking at 2 key markets to kind of grow this brand. And one of them is California, which is about 75% of our focus. And the next one is Texas, 2 of the largest states that combined make up about 65% of the tequila market. And so from a cultural perspective, diverse perspective, we think our story really resonates with these 2 states, with the people here, the consumers here. And we really think if we can create a great footprint in these 2 states, we can scale and grow that to other regions of the United States. Not to say that we've had conversations with importers in Japan and Germany and England, and there's great opportunity. We feel like we want to build a footing here with what we're doing really well and make sure that consumers understand our story, our production, and why we're really in the business.
I love it, Subir. And for the entrepreneurs watching the show, rewind what Subir just said. That's a great point, a great key point that he just mentioned. I mean, when you look at it, California and Texas, they're like each their own country. Sure. So he's going into the area where they consume a lot of this. He's already has the great reputation of the brand in those states. And as he continues to evolve in those states, then obviously he'll be able to determine with his team what to do next. Obviously, Subir's getting contacted from people all around the world saying, hey, we've heard about this Mico Spirits. It's incredible. The reviews are awesome. We were down in Mexico and people are talking about it. Maybe they were in California at a wedding or something like that, and people were drinking some of the tequila and they loved it so much. So for the entrepreneurs watching the show, rewind what Subir said, because if you're building your business, think about your sweet spot. Maybe you don't go worldwide to begin with. Maybe you don't go internationally or in the United States to begin with. Maybe you select a couple of prime markets, prove out the model even better, get your feet underneath you, and then start from there for world domination. So it's really awesome, Subir, what you've been able to do. Subir, let me ask you this question. You mentioned your father. He's very well known in the space. Everybody knows him. I mean, he's a worldwide leader. What's it like working with your father? Because a lot of people, wonder about what it's like having a family, sort of a business acumen, and it's something that, people are interested in. Yeah,
no, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm going to be completely candid with you. The first year we launched the brand, we had our challenges. We bumped heads, but what I try to create within this company is just allowing people to take do what they do best. He runs production. He's involved in every aspect of the process. Obviously, he's got a lot more experience than I do, so I make sure that I reach out to him when I have questions, and as not just a leader, but just an advisor as well. So I know I'm confident in my decisions. Throughout the company, we don't try to micromanage. We want to make sure that people are responsible for what they're doing and they feel a true sense of ownership. So what we do is we kind of divide and conquer. He allows me to do what I do really well: sales, marketing, brand building. And when it comes to production, he does reach out to me and he values my opinion, but I trust him in what he does. And again, that took a little bit, and now we're at a good point. But the first year was a little challenging. And once you read through all the nuances and understand each other from a business perspective, remove the personal perspective, I think that's when a lot of great things start happening.
Well, that's another great lesson for entrepreneurship for the entrepreneurs watching the show. When you have a startup or you start building a business and you have a co-founder or somebody that you're building it with, if you agree on everything, it really doesn't do you any good. It's always good to have disagreements and have good intellectual conversations where maybe there's two different viewpoints so you can come together to get the best of the best from what both people bring to the party. Now, Subir, one thing you're known about at Mico, you've got beautiful bottles, beautiful packaging. How important is that to your brand, and who came up with that idea? Let's give the beautiful bottles to the customers.
Yeah, that's the Mico Tequila bottle, as you're well aware. And really the idea was to create something that exemplified the juice itself, the product, something that stood out. So again, Mico translating the monkey, and you've got the monkey there really prominent in his suit, kind of front and center. But really it was a design perspective from friends and family in Mexico, and we really looked to a lot of people in the area, in the region, and to understand what it would take for us to stand out. It's very bartender friendly as well. But again, from a retail perspective, we wanted somebody to walk through a shelf or retail stuff, whether it was a Bevmo or a local grocery store, and kind of say, even if they didn't buy it, like, what is that? And that's really kind of the inspiration behind the bottle and the packaging.
I love the bottle. I mean, the rounding of the top reminds me of an agave plant, and it just sort of makes all the sense in the world. You've got great packaging, beautiful bottles. And of course, what's inside is really the key and why you're so successful. Now, Subir, let's talk about your team, because, you're building a world-class team. You've got people down in Mexico. You've got people up in California. You and your father are building this brand to really crush it, in California and Texas before you go on the nationwide and perhaps the worldwide footprint, depending on what your, business decision is. How important is it to build a great team? When you think about leadership, we talk about corporate culture starting at the top. When you wake up in the morning, how important is it to you to sort of lead by example for the rest of the team?
You know what? I think it's got to be the most important. It's really the people behind the organization. And what I look for truly in building the team is it's important to have a great background. It's important to have experience, understand the industry, especially because it's the alcohol industry and there's a lot of regulation behind it. And you have to be really careful in what you do. I look for passion. When I run into people who are passionate about the brand, they understand, they ask questions, they want to know more. That's what's important to me. I want, at the end of the day, this is a startup and there's a lot of things that need to be structuralized and need to happen, but aren't going to happen until we grow and we all grow together. And so the team is so important. My partner, Jürgen Dole and Rose, own an experiential marketing agency called Optimus Inc. with clients like Nike and Google. And they are partners in Mico. Truly partners who drive the digital, experiential, and the know-abouts of marketing. So what I try to do is, I have expertise in sales in different areas, but I really understand that you really need to have people who know how to do brand building, production-wise. I love tequila. I know tequila. My father, Ajendra and Karina, know tequila a little bit more than I do, and I trust them and they trust me, right? And that's a big part of it, to really understand tequila and what people are going to like and enjoy and evolve and innovate. So I think the team is absolutely the most important thing. And I think it's important to build a well-rounded team as well. Bring people from outside the industry from different inputs. What are fashion designers doing? What's the automotive industry doing? And collectively, I can kind of drive the company in a way that's innovative and fresh and unique.
I love it, Subir. It's really awesome. Let's get back to the entrepreneurial community now. And I know you've only cut out a certain amount of time. And thank you so much for coming on the show. I couldn't wait to get you on the show. What you're doing is really remarkable. So a lot of entrepreneurs are watching the show, and maybe they're in a startup phase. Maybe they're having some challenges. Maybe they're hitting a pothole in the road. Maybe they're hitting a wall that they can't get around. Maybe, Subir, you could give some advice or some encouragement to the younger entrepreneurs watching the show that maybe are hitting a brick wall or a pothole. Maybe they're freezing in the frame. Maybe you could tell them what it takes to get through those tough times.
Sure. And without knowing exactly what that is, I can kind of conceptualize what we went through when we were concepting Mico before we launched it. The packaging, the product, and whatnot. I would say this: invest the right amount of time. If you've invested the right amount of time in the product or service and you believe in it, the first thing that's going to happen the first year is you're going to hear the critics. Well, why don't you change this? Is there a different bottle? The juice is great. I love the story, but how about this? And stay the course. Stay the course for a good 3 years, and you can make slight adjustments, but believe in what you really put forward into that brand or service, and really stay the course. And the second thing I would say is look to as many people around you for advice. Don't be hesitant to call it. Reach out, make phone calls, whatever it may be. Sit with people, network, because you never know. It could be your friend, it could be somebody you worked with 10 years ago, and just reach out to that person for advice, because you can't have enough information. And I know we have our phones and our laptops at our fingertips, but there's nothing better than talking to somebody about what they would do in this situation. And then I think the third aspect of it, I would say, just make sure you have the right funding behind, the brand. I mean, we were in a really competitive space, very competitive. I've got to go up against every celebrity who wants to launch a new tequila for the right or the wrong reasons, right? And just make sure you're well funded and make sure you enjoy it, right? That's really what it's about. Just enjoy it day to day. It's a grind. It's challenging. It's not corporate culture. It's something else. But just if you're not enjoying it, you got to figure out a way to enjoy it, because it's a long haul. You can have a 3 to 5 year plan that can turn into 8 to 10 year plan very easily. So make sure you're enjoying it.
I love it, Subir. It's so amazing. It's a great entrepreneurial story for the entrepreneurs watching the show. Rewind what Subir said again. I mean, that was a little Harvard MBA he just gave you right there. You look great in your jacket and your sport coat and your t-shirt, but I also know you go down and you get in the fields and you're looking at things, and, you get your fingernails dirty as well. And that's what entrepreneurs do all the time. And that's how we become amazing successes. So listen, this has been absolutely amazing, Subir. Everybody, I want you to meet Mico. Born in Mexico, raised in LA. I love that. It's so good. It's a new breed of spirit animal. Really amazing. Everybody loves it. I mean, if you can even get your hands on it right now. Subir, I want to thank you so much for coming on the .com magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today. This has been absolutely awesome. We're going to watch this. I may have to move to Texas just to get my hands on some of your, rarefied spirits. So I can't wait for that. And thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting.